Hey, it's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, child, I'm so glad y'all here. I had no idea what I was going to talk about today because, child, there's so much. Let me just first say, rest in peace to Mr. Frankie Beverly. Even in my workout class this morning, my trainer, hey, Coach Nisi, was like, y'all wear white for this boot camp today. And so, if you don't know, we wearing white in honor of Mr. Frankie Beverly today. And when I was at work at Hallmark Cards, one of the things I had to do was take a color theory class. So I'm a chemical engineer by degree, worked in manufacturing where we printed gift wrap, paper plates, cups, napkins, all those kinds of things. And you most of the time would have four colors that can make all the other colors that you needed on a greeting card. And in order to be able to do that job well, you had to take color theory class. And white symbolized what you would learn in color theory is like it symbolized purity. And ideally, from a color standpoint, it just means that it's untainted by any other hue. And I could not help but think about 1681 when when we decided that white was going to be um, a race of people, like we were going to define who could be white and who couldn't be white. And okay, it totally makes sense that you would pick whatever is opposite black. But what I think is also interesting about it is that the categories of who has been white has changed over a couple dozen times since the U.S. Census was created, and we have consistently decided, well, you know, if you're Irish, you're not white, and then later, if you're Irish, you are. If you're Italian, you're not white, and then later you are. And I don't know where we've landed yet, like with Jewish people and the religion of being Jewish and whether or not Jewish people are white. But here's what I think is fascinating when you consider that Puff Daddy used to have these white parties. And white is the color associated with purity. I was talking with one of my friends from actually he's a friend from church a long time ago. And he was just like, "Oh man, this is awful." I don't profess to know Sean Combs. I don't profess to know anything about him, but I will say this: that's one of the reasons why I can't stand when people just be like, "Let's take a picture," and they pull that phone out and they're like, "Let's take a picture, guys," because now everybody who's ever taken a picture with Sean Combs, they like suggesting that, oh, they doing something with. Like, that's why I can't stand with that. They're like, let's take a picture. I'm like, yeah, which is why I'll never be a politician. Hey, did y'all watch that Unite event that Oprah had last night? I didn't get to watch it because I was at the Moore Squared event, but the Unite for America thing. Man, listen, I watched the hour and a half of it this morning, and I just couldn't be more inspired because of this idea that leadership to me is lifting people up, not necessarily tearing people down. And I think it's fascinating that when former President Donald John Trump suggests that tearing people down is the critical component of leadership, that people are like all bought on to this. And I think I'm gonna be able to tie this thing down because y'all also know I love North Carolina A&T. Shout out to my Aggies. I am doing my first comedic set the same weekend as homecoming. So no, I will not be there. But that also means that many of my friends ain't gonna be here in Kansas City for when I shut down the stage for 10 minutes. Um and when I saw the information about Mark Robinson, I was slightly mortified. And I think what I think when we're talking about voting and does our votes matter, do our votes matter and do they count, is Mr. Robinson won his race for lieutenant governor handedly. Like he got 54% of the vote. And part of the reason why that's possible in the state of North Carolina now is because of gerrymandering. My alma mater, North Carolina A&T State University, which when I was there, Taryn J. Mitchell, now Taryn J. Muhammad, had helped us to get 100% of the university's campus registered to vote. Now there is a dividing line going right through the center of campus where half of the students belong to one voting district and the other half of the students belong to another voting district. There's no situation in which I could imagine why that would need to be true. And that's what we do when we're trying to suppress the vote and keep people from um, mobilizing for action. But last night on that Unite for America call, it was made very clear that the state of Michigan went red and not blue because of 11,000 votes. That's two people per precinct. Two. That means each of us could talk to one person on this side of our house and another person on this side of the house and could have flipped the outcome in that state. And so one thing that breaks my heart more than anything else is when we say things like our vote doesn't matter, because voting disengagement is part of it, right? It's like distract, divide, destroy. If I can distract you, make you think that what you have to offer, what you making your voice heard doesn't matter on any policy, then we can get people like a Mark Robinson's like stick with me here, stick with me here. So this man has said things like gay people are filth, that if trans people need a bathroom, they need to go outside, that women who need to have access to reproductive rights that include abortion are irresponsible. This dude is like, I mean, his political rhetoric has probably been worse than anybody else's I've ever seen. And so this little trick I have is this simple. This is because I'm starting to hear people in marginalized groups say some of the same things that are hateful and divisive that have happened to their groups towards other groups. So let's say people were like, all of these immigrants are infesting our country and need to be 100% of them deported today. My trick is to insert a group I belong to into the space and see if I still feel the same way. Here's how it sounds. We need all of these Black women are infiltrating our country, and we need to have 100% deportation of all these Black women. You see, if I do that, then what happens is I realize that what has been said has been culturally destructive. I know most people not going to look at the culturally responsive rubric and see if what they're saying is destructive or if it's not or if it's proficient. And that little trick I think always works. Like when you say children need to be seen and not heard, say Black women need to be seen and not heard. And then I immediately know this idea that Black women need to that I wouldn't like if somebody else said that, that means I probably shouldn't say it. It's not 100% accurate, but when somebody says oh, a unique group of people, they just ignorant and dumb and stupid. I'd put in that spot, I'd say Black women are ignorant and dumb and stupid. And I go, ooh, yikes. And that's the little trick I use to help me kind of determine if I think the way we're going is going to be acceptable. So let's expand the trick a little bit and just look at the two candidates we currently have running for president of the United States. Someone was saying we have more candidates than that, but actually the way our electoral college is set up, the way our delegation system is set up, there's absolutely no way for any other candidate to win besides former President Donald John Trump or Vice President Kamala Harris. There's zero way. It just ain't gonna happen. All of you could decide that you're going to vote for one of those third party candidates and they're not going to win because they're not even on the ballot in certain states, because that's just the way our system is. And if you want to change that system, you got to put together a 20, 30, 40-year plan in order to do so. So for now, we're talking about two candidates who have any chance of winning in 46 days. Now, I want you to imagine that it was Vice President Kamala Harris who was standing on a debate stage and saying that people are eating cats and dogs, and that you found out that it was completely made up and a lie. And then she continued to say that she was talking about her cognitive test, that she had buried her ex-husband on her property so she could avoid paying taxes, that she had 34 felony counts, that she had multiple lawsuits that were hanging out over her head, that she had been divorced multiple times, that she had been in an affair with a male porn star, and had that was obvious and known. I want you to imagine that that was Vice President Kamala Harris's record. And then conversely, I want you to imagine that President Donald John Trump had the record of being a prosecutor, a senator, a vice president, and now is running for president against her. You see, you just switch it. And then you say, would this be possible? And then that's how you realize that what we're doing right now is absolutely ridiculous. And so that's one of the reasons why, when you look at how hatefulness is winning and how hatefulness is not a disqualifier for folks, I'm gonna need more well-meaning people to stop sitting on the sidelines going, this is terrible. This is bad. Because every once in a while, I'll sit around here and I'll think, oh my God, gotta get my life together. Lord, my character in the dark just ain't like what it need to be in the light. And then stuff like this happens. This dude on a whole porn site talking about he a black Klansman. Mr. Trans people should go outside to use the restroom is turned on by trans people engaging in sexual activity. It's hypocritical. And empathy cannot sit on a bed of hypocrisy. And nothing like the late, great Frankie Beverly in his decision to wear white all the time to help us remember what the color white symbolizes. I don't profess to be pure and without fault. In fact, I get on this thing every Friday and talk about problems I have. I have written book after book after book telling you what problems I have, in hopes that I can help us to try to be a more empathetic society. You know, as we talk about what is going on in our lives, as we share our issues, our challenges, our struggles, what we do is we create connection with people. You know, last night on that um Unite for America call this that I watched this morning, looking at a stranger and seeing a neighbor, that idea for me was just like, I think I think we can do this. I found myself for an hour and a half just smiling at the screen. But here's what's going to take. Here's what's going to take. I've told this story multiple times. I got this little patch of rock between my driveways, um, garages, and every year, every year without fail. One year I took all the rocks out and I put a barrier down, and then I put all the rocks back. That year I didn't get any weeds growing through, but the very next year, weeds were growing through. That spot gets more sun than anything else. It doesn't get any watering, and weeds find their way through. And that just is an analogy for me that weeds don't need to be watered. Weeds don't need to be in sunny spots in order to be able to thrive. Weeds just need a little space and opportunity. And when you want to plant something wonderful, I think about my potted plants. It takes water, it takes food, it takes sun, not too much of any of those. And once it starts to look beautiful, the deer come by and eat it, especially if it's a sweet potato vine. And so you got to keep working all the time in order to get beautiful things to grow. And the weeds, the hatefulness, the nastiness in the world, it don't mean nothing. And in my work, all I do ever is just have people think about, what do you say you value? What do you value? And then based on what you value, come on, Are you living in accordance with that? Every day. I value humor. I tell jokes. I know it rub people the wrong way. And listen, I don't want you to be upset. And I value humor. What do you value? Are you telling me you value hatefulness? Are you telling me you value death and destruction? Because what happened to Amber Thurman in Georgia is not an anomaly. This woman had a 6-year-old child. She got pregnant again and decided it was illegal in Georgia to have an abortion. So she crosses the line to take the abortion pill. And in a small number of cases, all the tissue does not come out. That's what happened to her. She goes to hospital. She's honest. Honesty is a value that we should appreciate. She's honest about what has happened to her. They don't give this woman care for 20 hours because they scared that if they kill a fetus or a zygote, I don't even remember how far along she was, that this 28-year-old woman, mother of a 6-year-old, that letting her die is a better choice. Now her 6-year-old baby ain't got no mama. What you value? Process over people, clearly. And I think that this abortion conversation that we keep having, talking about protect women right, women's bodies, da da da. I'm with you. And I think men need to understand how abortion has benefited them. The number of men I know with mistresses who have had babies or gotten somebody pregnant, excuse me, outside of their marriage, and then they just quietly pay for that thing to go away, who are standing in pulpits and on stages talking just like Mark Robinson. God ain't pleased. I ain't offended. I ain't judging. I'm just describing. How? Help me understand. Straighten me out. Straighten me out. The number of men who have gotten married in their 30s and the woman that they were able to secure was because they didn't have no whole bunch of kids. Sir, when you were out here doing whatever, and some woman just quietly took her plan B pill because she knew you was on something else. And before you say, nah, not me, how many times you have unprotected sex? Every one of those could have resulted in a pregnancy. But see, what we do is we want to judge people for having abortions, and we also want to judge people for having children. You see, you can have children in the workplace right now and be female. And guess what's going to happen? People going to make decisions about what they think you're capable of doing, how much time you have available. Now you have taken on the work of work and the work of home, and it is going to negatively impact your career. Don't have children, now you're a childless cat lady. My mama used to say, in fact, she didn't spend too much time on this. She was like, girl, listen, these people have you wearing yourself out trying to make them happy. And she never even seemed to care about if people were happy or not. It's like, if you was upset with her, that was a you problem, not a her problem. Because she was going to keep going on about her work. And here's what I've learned. All that bending, twisting, and turning ain't going to help no way. Meanwhile, you got somebody like Mark Robinson standing in one of the highest positions in the state of North Carolina, in a state where they have disenfranchised voters, mostly Black voters, and then is up here talking about morality. Morality. That's what we talking about. My friend Jim Nunley, he old, if y'all don't know, he said to me once I had my DNA discovery, he said, you've done worse. You've likely done worse. And I ain't never been so mad at an old person. In fact, if I'm being honest, I want to push him down. But here's the deal. When you look at it, have you done worse? When you sitting out here talking about these young people today, got their midriff out, got their legs out. When I look back in history, I say, we sure like to rewrite it in our favor. Because when I had fancy legs The shorts were called Daisy Dukes. When my mama had fancy legs, the pants were called hot pants. But we get older, we get sanctimonious, and we go, look, I got it all. I got it all figured out. And the rest of y'all need to get like me. It's the reason why when I see these people attacking groups, LGBTQ community is filth. Can you imagine? Black women are filth. Like just replace that. And I don't this is the challenge with just saying, I don't care what's going on. I'm voting specifically along my party lines. Cuz you can't tell me that you are Christian and you think that God formed you to oppose gay people. I had a friend whose husband said God made Adam and Eve. God didn't make Adam and Steve. And my question was very clear. Who made them if not God? Who out here making people if not God? I mean, if you're Christian and you believe that. I think this conversation around abortion where people are like, hey, I'm Christian, so I gotta, I'm a single issue voter. I gotta vote to save the babies because this is murder. What about Amber Thurman? Healthcare system just murdered her. What about Black maternal death rates in every single state in this country? Where Black women are dying in they decided to have their babies. And they're dying at rates greater than any other group. In fact, when you look at all women in the United States of America, we are dying at greater rates than any other group of women anywhere in the globe in the industrialized countries. We trying to prepare other planets to be suitable for living. If we got the power to do all that, we got the power to fix this problem. And while you got your fancy career, while you a preacher, a politician, an entrepreneur, you better be grateful somebody had plan B. Cause you and your little behind the scene horse ways out here just wilding. And I ain't slut shaming these men. But what you not gonna do is do all that foolishness and then look at us and then say, huh, irresponsible. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I have been quiet on this issue of abortion because everyone who is an advisor of mine has said, Nicole, don't touch it. And if former President Donald John Trump wins this election, it's going to be because of the people who are pro life. So we have got to start talking about this because one of my friends in college who wanted to have her child lived in the state of in Virginia and she lost her baby. Baby died in utero. She needed a DNC. They would not perform that DNC because Virginia had basically this complete total ban on abortion. And a DNC and an abortion basically the same thing. You're ending a pregnancy. It's in her home. She almost died of sepsis. The 4 children she had would be motherless. We've got to tell these stories. We've got to talk about this. There are over 1 million abortions every year. What y'all gonna do with an extra million kids? Because we don't have the character to even make sure children have food to eat. Here in my lovely town, I wasn't going to talk about this. Here in my lovely town, there's a bus stop at the corner of 31st and Prospect, across from a library. There was a lot of vagrancy by this bus stop. Homeless people, people who, because they have been living outside, have lost their minds. To fix this problem, you know what they did? Removed the bus stop. Think it's a very suitable solution. See, but now the people who use that bus stop to get to work, to get their kids to school, because these bus systems ain't working like they should. Get these kids to school. The kind of bus that I would have taken When I was 7 years old to get from Sanford B. Lab back to my home near 45th and Truth, they done moved the bus stop. You got to go all the way to Brooklyn in order to get on the bus stop, get on the bus if you're using it for good reason. I was so astonished. I could not believe it. I said, no way. I go and see, do my little empty walk. They cleaned up the corner, I guess. You know, it was Martin Luther King who said, we all in this boat together. There could be a hole on my end, and I could be bailing water like crazy. But if you think that you sitting on your end, drinking your Mai Tais is gonna keep you safe, it is absolutely not. It is absolutely not. This whole boat going down. And your children are only as safe as my children. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.